Aloha and good morning. And I do know the coffee and the breakfast and the conversation is exceptional out in the lobby, and remind you it can continue over lunch. Thank you so much for being here. It is my pleasure to welcome each of you to the 13th Annual Hawaii Energy Conference. This conference was created to be more than a meeting. It is a place to connect ideas, challenge assumptions, and move towards solutions that serve both people and place. Since its beginning in 2014, this conference has grown alongside Hawaii's own energy journey, and this year is seriously no exception. Look around. Every person in this room represents a piece of Hawaii's energy future. Leaders, innovators, policymakers, utilities, cooperatives, and community champions. And the fact that all of you have gathered once again at this beautiful Maui Arts and Cultural Center reflects the importance and urgency of the conversations that we will be having. Our 2026 conference theme, Energy, Power, People, and Place, recognizes that energy decisions are never just technical alone. They are deeply human, deeply local, and deeply connected to culture, land, and long-term resilience. Over the next 2 days, we will explore pathways to sustainability and reliability using firm power while learning from indigenous and community-driven models, from Hawaii to the U.S. continent and across the Pacific to New Zealand. Today's program would not be possible without the hard work, dedication, and extensive networks of our volunteer program committee, led by our conference chair, Jackie Hoover, who is the executive director and chief operating officer of our sister organization, the Hawaii Island Economic Development Board. Together, they all shaped this year's theme, identified timely and relevant topics, recruited an outstanding group of speakers, and many are also serving as session moderators. Their work reflects a deep commitment to this year's focus on power, people, and place, bringing together technical expertise, lived experience, and respect for local context. We are proud of the program they have created, one that squarely addresses the challenges and opportunities before us as we work toward an energy future that is resilient, sustainable, affordable, secure, and equitable for the communities we serve. Continuing with our thank yous, we would like to recognize our very generous sponsors. Please hold your applause until all have been named. We thank our stakeholder sponsors, Hawaii Natural Energy Institute and Ulupono Initiative. And at the advocate level, Hawaii Electric, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1186, also International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1260, Island Energy Services, Moss and Associates, PAR Hawaii, and Tetra Tech. And our support sponsors are AES Hawaii, Amoresco, Hawaii Gas, Ikehu Utility Solutions, Integrity Environmental LLC, JERA Americas, JM Distributed Solutions, Johnson Controls, Kauai Island Utility Cooperative, Lead Sun, Noresco, Novatech Automation, Puna Geothermal Venture, Terrafoam Power, Trio Energy Alliance, and WSP. And the official airline of the conference is Alaska and Hawaiian Airlines. Mahalo to our exhibitors. We have designated times throughout the conference to meet them. Please visit the exhibit hall to learn about their latest projects and offerings, connect with representatives, and schedule a meeting. We can now give applause to those very generous sponsors that make this conference possible. Next, let's look at where we live and work and the industry sectors that we all represent. We are pleased to welcome to the conference energy stakeholders from Hawaii, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, Korea, and Puerto Rico, and across the continental U.S. And in the snapshot of our island state, we can see the important discourse that is a priority for all of us. As we look at attendance by industry, we see a fairly equal representation of those engaged in policy and governance, energy management and development, and commercial endeavors. We are happy to welcome back returning participants. Many of you have been attending since the very first Hawaii Energy Conference, and to those of you who are first-timers, we are delighted you made the decision to join us. If you haven't already, please download the conference app and ask questions in the app by going to the relevant session, which our moderators will look at when the panels are here to hopefully ask them. And also, you may use the app to network and chat by clicking on the Attendee tab. Well, we also need to know how we will do. We really ask for you to share your feedback to help us learn and improve for next year. Please complete the survey. It is integral, and you will find a link also in your conference app. Before we begin our program today, it is important that we ground ourselves in Hawaii, its traditions, values, and the responsibilities that come when we gather in this place. To help set the intention, we begin with a cultural opening, which reminds us that progress is strongest when guided by ancestral knowledge and respect for the land and the communities we serve. But first, we are very grateful for the continued partnership of the County of Maui, whose support has been instrumental to this conference since its inception. The county's commitment to convening thoughtful dialogue on energy resilience and sustainability has helped make Maui a place where important forward-thinking conversations continue to happen. It is now my distinct honor to welcome a strong partner in that work and a leader committed to Maui Nui's future. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor Richard Bissen to the stage, Mayor of the County of Maui.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Aloha kakahiaka kako. And of course, welcome to the 13th Hawaii Energy Conference and Exhibition. Of course, welcome to Maui, those of us who are visiting. This year's theme, of course, is just mentioned by Leslie, energy, power, people, and place. What else is there? I mean, that pretty much says it all. Again, mahalo to the Maui Economic Development Board, of course, Leslie Wilkins, as I mentioned, and all the partners for convening our leaders from Hawaii, tribal nations, Aotearoa, and across the Pacific. This gathering reflects the importance of bringing together policy, innovation, cultural stewardship, and community perspectives as we plan for Hawaii's energy future. You know, across Maui County, we continue focusing on affordability, infrastructure, and long-term sustainability, because these are the issues that directly impact whether local families can continue to live and thrive here on our islands. For island communities, the issue of energy reliability, water resources, housing, growth, and environmental stewardship cannot be addressed separately. As Maui continues recovery efforts, we also have the opportunity to strengthen critical systems to support our workforce development and to build greater resilience for future generations. This year's speakers and panels will highlight practical topics facing Hawaii and other island communities, including microgrids, grid reliability, permitting, renewable fuel supply, and water security. It is especially meaningful to see conversations that incorporate indigenous knowledge, or ike kupuna, community-led approaches, and lessons from other regions facing similar challenges. Successful long-term planning requires collaboration across government, across industry, education, and community partners who are working together toward balanced and responsible solutions. One important step Maui County has taken was establishing the Department of Ōiwi Resources to help ensure that Native Hawaiian knowledge and stewardship remain part of major conversations shaping our future. Kumu Kaponoʻai Molitau, the director of the Department of Ōiwi Resources, continues helping to guide discussions involving cultural resources, our sense of place, and for responsible planning across Maui County. At this time, it is my honor to invite Kumu Kaponoʻai Molitau to provide cultural protocol opening. Enjoy the conference.
Hawaii nui Hawaii nui Hawaii di Hawaii loa Hawaii pok Hawaii luna Hawaii lalo iloko tamoano kanalo ue kalani neue tahonua ne tahonua ola I tahonua hola tahonua tuo tawairua o te tupuna tupa ke Kanaka Maoli Tihei Mauri ora. Ue mai kalania ora hoi mei taho nuai. Ulu tini o te atua. Ulu dane me tanalo. Ulu ta ohi alau toa ta ie. Ia mei ano I koukua. Ia tawa I la hewa ie ola. E ola hoi meila dane mala o tanalo o tai da po lua da po tolu da po ha da po lima da po onu da po da po walu da po iwa da po umi da po o lo ako I tei no ako I kai pau ko kapuia o e lono Mama wano ya umi o luna o hale akala I ka eu o kane hoalani ya o e mawinu ya kama o la paka uila o luna o mauna tahala wai I hea mai aku nei a o e puukukui e ho mala mai taai no ta mokukulua o hale akala o mawinu ia kama o hina o moloka inu ia hina o uka o lane I kauhale ia o e kohe mala makanalo au taho o lawe e ia no tawai ake ola e ola hoi maila e mama haua no ala noa.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Kumu. We're very grateful for your opening and inspiration. It is now my honor to introduce Michael Colon of the Ulupono Initiative, but he has another relationship to us. His wife, Kat Awakuni Colon, happens to be my counterpart at Oahu Economic Development, and Jackie Hoover's, and a sister in EDB. So, Michael, it is his honor to introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you, Michael.
Sorry to disappoint if you were waiting for my wife. Aloha mai kako and kia ora tātou. My name is Michael Colon. I'm the Energy Director at Ulupono Initiative. This year's theme, Energy, Power, People, and Place, asks us to think about something deeper than kilowatts and megawatt hours. It asks us to think about who holds the relationship with the land and what the relationship means to how we generate power sustainably for generations. This is something about which our team at Ulupono cares about deeply. And few people embody this question more concretely than our keynote speaker, and it's an honor to introduce him this morning. Mana Newton is the Group Chief Executive Officer of Tauhara North Trust number 2. It's a Maori land trust in Aotearoa, New Zealand, whose people have held a relationship with geothermal resources for centuries. That relationship is not metaphorical. Their ancestor Tahu Matua found geothermal upon arriving in Aotearoa, and the Rohe, their homeland, is surrounded by geothermal areas that provide warmth, food, and shelter for generations. Originally from Reparoa, Mana's connection to Hawaii is actually also personal. He studied at BYU Hawaii, where he met his wife, who is Hawaiian, and together they are raising 6 Maori Hawaiian children, a living bridge between Aotearoa and here. That bridge runs through his professional work as well. Before leading the trust, Mana spent many years at Deloitte in both Honolulu and in Aotearoa, where he established and grew the firm's Maori sector practice, which is supporting Maori organizations across governance, strategy, and commercial development, and building the infrastructure for indigenous entities to grow on their own terms. Alongside his role at Tauhara North, he serves on a number of boards across Aotearoa, supporting Maori groups in their economic development journeys and broader aspirations for long-term self-determination and sovereignty. Earlier this year, Mana visited Honolulu and met with state leaders to share lessons from New Zealand on indigenous-led geothermal development, lessons that are directly relevant to our own work across the energy sector here in Hawaii. He spoke candidly about geothermal's complicated history as a tool of colonization and about what it looks like to reclaim that resource in a way that connects a community to its future rather than separating it from its past. This morning, he'll share that perspective with all of us. Please join me in welcoming my brother, Mana Newton.
O kahiwara, kahiwara. O kahiwara ki tēnei tuku, kahiwara ki tērā tuku. Kahiwara, kahiwara. O ki tangia te manu nei, tui, 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 tuia. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho. Tuia te here tangata, ka rongo te pō, ka rongo te ao. Eke panuku, eke hohona. Whanno, whanno, harama te toki. Hami e, hui e, tāiki e. O te mihi tuatahi, ki te runga rao i atu mātou nuitarangi. Koe te timatanga me te whakamutu ngā mea katoa, ngā tini mate ngā aitua. Haere, haere, haere atu rā, moi mai rā ki a rātou, ngā wheturangi tia. Ka koe te rangatira te kaikarakia ki tēnei ata, a Kumu, me te rangatira, a mea, mihi atu ki a kōrua, mō tō rangatiratanga, i roto i tēnei haerenga te huarahi tika mō ngā iwi o Hawaii nei. Nō reira, ki a kōrua, mihi atu, mihi atu, mihi atu. Ki a koutou, te hunga ora, mihi atu ki a koutou ngā rangatira mā, ngā rangatira no te mea, ānei he kaupapa nui mo te āpōpō mō ngā tamariki me ngā mokopuna, ngā keiki o ka aina. Mihi atu ki a koutou ngā rangatira mā. Tēnei taku mihi ki a koutou, he mihi poto, engari, he mihi aroha, nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā koutou kato, kia ora. Aloha. That's basically what I just said in my own way, in my own shape. Ohana, family, welcome. It's amazing to be able to be here, and I thank you for the time and space that I have to be able to share our story from Aotearoa, New Zealand.
At the end, I just want to explain a little bit about what I shared with you at the beginning, is to acknowledge place, to acknowledge our cultural connections between Aotearoa and Hawaii, to acknowledge those that have passed on, to acknowledge our Kumu and our me for their leadership, to acknowledge all of those that are part of the leadership of this conference, and the journey that we're all on, which is trying to connect with people, place, culture, and a right future for us. At the end, it's right for us, peoples of the Pacific, to reciprocate that knowledge or that welcome that we had from Kumu. So it was culturally correct for me to come out and to acknowledge that throughout this conversation and at the start of that. So I want to acknowledge the mana whenua, the Kanaka Maoli of this place, for all of the work that they do. At the end of a welcome like that in Aotearoa, New Zealand, what we're meant to do is hongi with everybody. So hongi is when we share the breath of life. I press my nose and forehead with all of your noses and foreheads. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'll get everyone to like... No. What I am going to do with you is I'm going to share with you a very simple practice that we have in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It is called ha mamau. Ha mamau means the breath of life. Mamau means from a distance. Our warriors back in the day when they were protecting our marae, our villages, our women and our children, they would stand on palisades and on places, and they would ensure that they were doing okay by sharing a ha mamau, which is a breath from afar. So everybody, if you'd like to, join with me. We also share the words kia ora. Kia ora is similar to aloha. It just means to be well, to have life. That is our greeting in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So as we ha mamau with everybody here, if we could all say kia ora. That was a very, very light kia ora. How about we try that again? Kia ora. And we'll do it with ha mamau now. Watch out if there's someone in front of you. I don't want you to hit them, please. But kia ora. Very good. Thank you for sharing your breath of life and my breath of life with you as well. Again, I appreciate the opportunity that I have to be able to share with you our story and our journey in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And as Michael has gracefully introduced me and made that connection between myself and between Hawaii and my time that I spent here. And I just want to mihi to Kanaka Maoli for the mahi that they're doing. And I want to share with you that even though we have a journey and there may be similarities in that, some of that journey, we cannot simply say same, must be the same. Each of us have our own journey, we have our own place, we have our own stories and histories. We share this connection across Polynesia, being Maori and Hawaii, not just because I married a beautiful Hawaiian girl, but because we have this long history of connecting with each other. I shared at the start of my kōrero Hawaii Nui, Hawaii Ro, Hawaii Pāmau Mao. That is where we believe we come from, and that is how we connect with our brothers and sisters across the Pacific as well. As I said, I'm a CEO of a trust called Tauhara North No. 2 Trust, and I wanted to start off with a small video. It is culturally correct for us to connect with place as well, so I wanted to share you guys a quick little video. It should be around 23 minutes. I have 24 minutes left, so there's about 23 minutes to go. No, it's very, very quick. But I'll share with you a video about our place and our connections as well. As we connect to people in place, I want to acknowledge your maunga, your awa, your moana nuia kiwa, and connect also to the places that I'm from back in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For those that know and have been to New Zealand before, I'm from a place called Reporo. Reporo literally means a long swamp. So you can kind of imagine the place that I grew up, a long swamp. Our ancestor, if you had heard in that karanga, in that call out from one of our wahine, one of our women, is that our karanga was to acknowledge our tupuna, Tahumatua. Tahumatua was one of our first ancestors that came to Aotearoa, New Zealand in 1250 AD. He came on the back of a manu, a waka, called Manu Nui Arangi. Manu Nui Arangi simply means a great bird of the sky. When he came to Aotearoa, New Zealand, he had left a place of significant warmth, and when he got to Reporo, it was very cold. So because of the coldness of Reporo, he went to an area where he found warmth, which is where we're from, in the middle of the North Island there, which is also known as the Taupo volcanic zone. This is where we have lots and lots of geothermal activity. Because of that geothermal activity, he made that place his home, and our people have lived there now for over 800 years as part of that journey of our ancestor, Tahumatua. Within Aotearoa, New Zealand, I do want to explain a little bit. You'll hear me say words like iwi, ahu whenua trust, things like that. And iwi, simply put, is just our tribal areas. Our tribal areas of where we have genealogical connection back to an original ancestor. Within those tribal areas, when the Crown came to our country, the Crown meaning the government of the time, the British government, when they came to the country, one of their goals to go through this process was to try to take and own our lands and resources. That was the goal of the Crown. Now, there's many different ways that colonization occurs to indigenous people. Usually it's not so much the journey of the colonization, but the outcome usually is the same. Within Aotearoa, New Zealand, when the Crown came in, it is very hard to take lands from a tribal concept, because in an indigenous perspective, we don't own those lands. We belong to those lands, just like those lands belong to us. We have this kaitiaki, or this responsibility relationship to those lands. And because of that, it was very difficult for the Crown to take those lands from us because they were not under title. So what the Crown did is they went through a process of putting the lands under title so that they were able to then come and acquire or take those lands through different means. And there's lots of different ways that happen, and I'm definitely not going to be here today to share all those different ways, but to simply say that through this process, Aotearoa, New Zealand is around about 60 million acres. I had to quickly do my conversion of a hectare times 2.2 so that I could get into the proper unitary measurements that the rest of the world uses. But it's about 50 to 60 million acres. Today, Maori, indigenous, we own less than 5% of the lands that we originally held. In our particular area here, in the central North Island, we had about 390,000 acres. Maori, our iwi, our tribe, collectively only owns about 3% of what we originally owned. So the tools of colonization, no matter what they worked very, very well, because through colonization we were disconnected from our resources and from our lands as well. I want to share with you a couple of examples and stories of our people and our connection to place and our connection to resource. One of the areas of significance for us is a place called Ōrake Korako. This became our ukaipo. Ukaipo simply means the place that nourishes you throughout the night. It's not our homeland. That's how personified we feel to these places, that we name them in such ways as a ukaipo. This was one of our most significant places that we had, where our ancestor first landed, and he stayed there, and our people lived here for 700 years before this event occurred. What the Crown done is throughout the 1940s and 1950s, they came to our area and they said, we need power for the country. We're going to build a dam just up the river from this beautiful place, and therefore your place will be flooded. Our people at the time did not know of all of these events, and the only thing that they could do was to gather up their possessions and to leave. When the Crown came to build these dams, and the day that they came, one of my aunties, she's still alive now, she was a little girl at the time, and she shares the story that her dad, when the Crown was coming to burn the houses, he would not give them the satisfaction of burning those homes. He burnt them himself. He said, if anybody is going to take these homes out, it will be me. It'll be our line and our genealogy, our whakapapa. From there, a power station was built and the lands were flooded. We left this homeland of Ōrake Korako and we went to another place here called Ōhaki. Please don't be confused by the pictures that have beautiful sunshine, because when you go to Aotearoa, New Zealand, especially this place, if it's in the winter, I promise you it will not look like this at all. It'll be a lot colder, and Hawaiians need jackets and scarves and beanies and everything. But this is one of our beautiful places called Ōhaki. This became our Ukaipo Tuarua, our second home, our second homelands. When we left Ōrake Korako, we went to this and made this our homelands. As you can see down the bottom of the picture, there is our marae. Our marae is our meeting houses that we name after our ancestors. We believe we're actually literally carrying the body of our ancestor within that marae. It allows us to stay connected to who we are, to people, place, and culture. We took that marae to this place called Ōhaki, and then we developed our own community. You can't see there, but that was a thriving community with many, many homes. The government during the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, they did a lot of geothermal exploration. As I said, our area is known for geothermal. The government came and explored that geothermal, and for the good of the country, they came and asked us to move our Ukaipo Tuarua, our second home, so that would enable them to be able to then build a power station here. Our people at the time, they had learnt from Ōrake Korako. So instead of just giving the land to the crown, we said, no, we won't give it to you. We want to hold on to the land and our cultural significance. So the crown ended up coming and taking this on a 90-year lease on a peppercorn rental, $1 a year. In this place now, what the crown done is, because admittedly geothermal wasn't known that well at the time, so they used technology to build a power plant which had 110 megawatt capability, but technology and a reservoir at the time that could only handle about 30 to 50 megawatts. So what we ended up having was a substantial amount of subsidence. What you can see there in that picture is not the natural flow of the river. The river is about 1/5 or 1/6 the original size. We've had a substantial amount of subsidence, and our Ukaipo Tuarua, our second home, has been subsided and has flooding risk because of these events that happened to us as opposed to happening with us. This is the opposite of a concept that we have, which is a simple concept of mana motu hake. Mana motu hake means the ability to make your own decisions for your own future in your own lands. Mana motu hake is another way of having sovereignty as a people. From here, we went on. We have another land block which I am currently the CEO over. And what happened in this situation was completely different. As the Crown had gone through our region and explored different areas where they may be able to do geothermal, they had explored this site here, which is another block which we call Tauhara North No. 2 Trust. When they explored this site, they did not find geothermal that was significant enough for them. As such, for all of these sites that they didn't find geothermal, that they didn't want to explore themselves, they put a permitting or a consenting process around that, and then they sold those rights on to other people. In the early 1990s, our people who owned this land went out and bought those rights. We bought the rights to access our own geothermal, which put us in the driver's seat, in the front seat on the concept of mana motu hake. We consulted with our people, many, many years of consultation. We have this concept in New Zealand called 1,000 cups of tea. If you come to New Zealand, we drink a lot of tea. It's just what we do. And 1,000 cups of tea, meaning that we went around from house to house, people to people, and discussed with them about this opportunity of developing geothermal. You see, developments wasn't our journey. Developments of geothermal was just part of our wider story and our wider journey with geothermal. Today on these lands, we've now developed 300 megawatts of geothermal. But in those 300 megawatts of geothermal has been a slow, steady exploration where we have made sure that we understand the mātauranga or the knowledge of the reservoir before we expand to the next stage. We started off with a smaller 30 megawatt. Then we moved up, once we understood the reservoir more, then we moved up. We developed another 140. Then we moved up again, we developed another 80. And just of March this year, we added another 50 megawatts. We understand and we know that the capacity of this reservoir is roughly around about, there's two different reservoirs, roughly somewhere between 600 to 900 megawatts. But we know that we'll never get close to its capacity because we control the rights. We own those access rights. It's a very interesting concept within indigeneity, this concept of owning your lands, but somebody else can own the rights to the resources that your land sit upon. But it's a common concept, not just within Aotearoa, New Zealand, but also throughout the world. As we've gone from place to place, different indigenous groups, there's a very common story. And the common story is demonstrated in this very simple principle here, which we call tika and ture. You see, the concept of tika means there is some inherent indigenous connection that every indigenous person has to place, has to country, has to resource. There is inherent recognition of the indigeneity story and connection of people to those areas. But then there is a law of the day which may not recognize that indigeneity in a legal sense. You see in the examples that I shared with Ōrake Korako, our people, we lost both tika, which is the rights, our whakapapa, which is our cultural connection through genealogy, and our connection with each other. We lost those at Ōrake Korako. We lost those through the ture, which the law of the day said that somebody could come and take those things off us. You see, at Ōhaki, we held on to as much tika as we possibly could, while the law of the day allowed somebody else to come along and say, I can take the resources, the access rights, and I can control the resources that sit under your feet and that flow past you. But at Tauhara, we have a different story, because at Tauhara, we not only maintain our tika, our rights and our cultural practices and our ability to connect to that land, but we also legally own the ture. We own the law and the access rights, and we own the consent. So how does this then translate into business models? Because all of this indigenous theory and principles sounds great, but then how do we actually recognize that? How do we make sure that community participates not only by signing off on the consent and saying, have my resources, but actually benefits from these developments that happen with us and not at us? And so this is a very, 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 very simplified basic concept where there's four main components for any single geothermal development. And that is the reservoir itself, the land that sits on top, the infrastructure that we build, and the power stations. In most geothermal developments, all of those four components are owned by the developer. Or if they don't own the land, they may lease the land. But all of those components are owned by the developer. In the case of Tauhara North, what we were able to do was we owned the reservoir and we also owned the land. By doing that, we technically went and created a separate asset class. By creating a separate asset class that did not include the regular asset stack that you have here, we were able to then capitalize off that. You see how we believe our ancestors, we didn't just have these relationships with nature so that we could sit and watch, but so that we could have a balanced view of economic, cultural, social, and environmental growth collectively. And so for us and our people, we were able to take that resource, take that land, and create a different asset class that has been able to allow us to then capitalize into the infrastructure and the power stations that sit on top. The 3 different power stations and 300 megawatts, we have different ownership structures of the power station. But in all 3 power stations, we own the resource rights, we own the land, and we utilize those for the benefit of our people. And if you think about it, the fact that we have lived on that land for over 800 years, the fact that we have this long journey in relationship with our ngā whariki, our geothermal, it makes complete sense that that's part of us and that the benefits of that resource come back to us and our community. From those resources, we've got about 9,000 people as part of our whānau, our ohana, or our family back home. From those resources, we've now gone and have multiple focus areas. We've developed in the tourism space. If you come to Rotorua, New Zealand, we have a couple of tourism ventures, a Maori cultural performance area. We also have a jet boat that does spins and jumps on the river. If you mention my name, they'll charge you twice, that's okay. But you're welcome to come, every single one of you. We've ventured into tourism. We've also got social goals within our commercial developments, where our whānau have said, provide us houses, provide us homes, because housing is expensive in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And our whānau are moving over to Australia or moving over to England or other places so they can have a chance to make it. We want to try to make them feel comfortable to say, you can stay, your trust is here to support you. We're into farming as well. We're not really into farming. We are an indigenous people that has lost 97% of our land. We love land, and we want to buy it all back. As a consequence to loving land and wanting to buy it back, we also have a large amount of farms, because every time we buy land, we have to do something with that land. Our social outcome areas, health and education. We take a third of every dollar that we make right off the bat, and we drive it straight into our social programs. Those social programs include support for your eyes, your ears, your teeth. My uncles play a lot of golf, so we put in the hips and the knees as well so they can carry on playing golf. We've got shoulders, we've got everything that you can think of, terminal illness, cancers. When people have major accidents, the trust is there to support them in their journey of recovery, or in some very sad occasions, their journey of the completion of their life. We're there from when babies are born, through educational programs. We have a STEM structure that we're developing out even further now, where we want our children to not just be part of the consenting process of these geothermal reservoirs for the future, but to actually be part of the engineer concept, the reservoir scientists, and everything to do with geothermal. We want to be the leaders in this geothermal space. And the best way for us to do that is to connect our children back. We hold camps, wānanga, we try to style after Kamehameha schools with their amazing explorations and things like that. We try to make these connections back for our tamariki, for our keiki, to come back home and to be part of our journey. You see, whenever indigenous capitalize and make money, we're not making money just for the sake of it. We're making money so that we can reinvest that back into our future generations. I just wanted to mention really briefly the concept of a just transition, because we support UNDRIP, the United Nations Indigenous Forum. We also support the APEC Indigenous Forum campaigns. And a lot of those campaigns are around the concept of a just transition. We all know that there is an energy focus and boom in this current environment. And we all know that this energy focus and boom is about trying to supply as much power as possible. But the just transition concept is simply the fact that whenever these energy processes or booms occur, the most affected communities are indigenous communities and rural communities. I'm not sure if you saw those pictures earlier about my homeland, but we are indigenous and we are in the middle of the country. We are rural. We are in that category of groups that are the most infected by this. We want to make sure that we support the concepts of a fair shift, not just a fast one, that we include the ideas of rural and indigenous people, that we understand the concept of ownership, not just consultation, not just a sign-off, here you can have my resources, have at it, but that we actually part of the benefit of the capitalization of what our resources are going towards. That we have culture built into the design. We have these cultural components within our power stations that operate today, where we hold higher responsibility to ourselves by creating these cultural frameworks. We want to make sure the culture of our ancestors is there no matter if we're there or not. We want to make sure that they're in part of the core of how we operate. So we 100% support this concept of a just transition, and we feel that it's important to meet these needs of where we're going in relation to energy. For us, for our future, we have a few concepts that we want to focus on. This is an area here, if you're a developer, please close your eyes because you'll just see opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. But what this is, this shows the current megawatts that's been developed, and it shows the potential megawatts. And this is from data that's, some of it's roughly 20, 30 years old, some of it's more recent. We believe there's substantially more opportunity and capability than what is here. But we want to make sure that all of this expansion capability and opportunity in this particular area that we have whakapapa, we have genealogical connection to, that we're at the front of those conversations, that we're at the front of that. There are areas within this area, geothermal specific, that we will not touch. We will never ever go there and we'll never develop because they are sacred to us, they're specific, they're wahitapu or kapu areas. No one else knows that, we do. So it's important that we're part of those journeys so that we can determine what is used and what is not used, and we can use it in a sustainable way. And what better people to guide that than the people that have lived there for 800 years? It kind of just makes a lot of logical sense. Outside of this, we're also very, very, well, call it crazy, innovative, silly, whatever you want to call it, but we love to explore all of the potential uses of geothermal. The waste product of geothermal is hot water with minerals, bacteria that's undetermined, that can be used for cultures, that can be used for all sorts of different capabilities. So having heat, mineral-rich water, and bacteria-rich water is a very, very good waste product that comes out of geothermal. So for us, we're doing many, many different research projects that allow us to understand the true capability or mātauranga Māori, knowledge of that reservoir. We want to be able to hold this in such a way that even if we can't use this knowledge today, one day our tamariki, our keiki, our mo'opuna, they will be able to use this knowledge in the future. So a lot of this research is literally research to land bank the IP, the mātauranga Māori of the capability of our reservoir for the future. All of this kōrero is really about a concept of reconnection through the impacts of traumatic colonization that our people went through. Our area traditionally was very well populated. We had a lot of people. As soon as we started losing access to lands through the construct of colonization through the crown, by losing those lands, we didn't just lose lands, but we lost access to be able to provide kai, food for our people to be able to survive. So our people had to leave in large numbers. When they left in large numbers, our people saw that it was very hard to defend our lines. So the more people left, the more we lost. People leave, we lose. What we have found is that our connection to geothermal is not about a power station, but it's a story of reconnection. It's the ability to now take our tamariki and our mokopuna and say, you should be interested in your connection, your whakapapa, your genealogy to our particular area, because it has this amazing resource that you could be the expert in going forward into the future. And our tamariki and our mokopuna, they're coming back now and learning about the resource, which was a key part to the survival of our people for so many years. Having our tamariki and our mokopuna and our families involved in this journey has been probably the best part of this entire journey of developing a power station. We continue to learn all the time, but having our tamariki and our mokopuna part of that journey is such a blessing to have. I want to share with you, lastly, a very simple whakatauki. A whakatauki is a proverbial saying. My nana's auntie was alive during the time when she saw so much of the loss of our people and our lands. So she came up with this very simple whakatauki, which says, kia mau ki te whenua. Kia mau ki te whenua simply means hold on to the land. As much as you can, hold on to the land. Whakamahia te whenua. Whakamahia te whenua simply means work what we have. Work those lands. She had seen so many of our people leave our region, not only because we lost that land, but we lost the ability to work that land. So her whakaro, her thought, her mana'o to us was whakamahia te whenua, work that land. And she left her key principle in the last line when she simply said, hei painga mō ngā uri whakatipuranga. Do all of these things for the benefit of your future generations. We are wrong if we develop and that's going to put our future generations in jeopardy. What our development should be is a balanced view of the world that balances our cultural, our social, our economic and environmental responsibility to our lands and our resources as they provide for us. We talk about 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. We think of our story of 800 years and the 16 generations of whakapapa or genealogy I have back to Tahumatua, all the way down to the next 16 generations that come in the next round. We need to do all we can to kia mau ki te whenua, whakamahia te whenua, hei painga mō ngā uri whakatipuranga. There's a known problem in Hawaii that people are leaving for college and never come back, resulting in a brain drain. Is there a similar problem in Aotearoa with people leaving? 100%. We note the net arrivals and net leaving, and even though the numbers may be very similar, what we're finding is that those that are leaving of qualification versus those that are coming, that there's a huge disparity. So we are losing a huge amount of people in this space, specifically with geothermal capability, because as the rest of the country and the rest of the world, understands their geothermal capability, those that are trained in geothermal in Aotearoa, New Zealand, they leave because there's many, many opportunities around the world. So we are seeing a significant brain drain as well in our country. But whānau, again, thank you so much for allowing me time and space to share our journey from our people of Ngāti Tahu, Ngāti Whaoa, to you all here in Maui, Hawaii, he mihi nui kia koutou katoa, dō reira tēnā koutou, kia ora koutou katoa. Kia ora.